The sound came first. A low, uneven hum, as if someone were dragging about across a broken violin string somewhere in the night. Anna heard it when she was sweeping the front step of the inn, her broom pausing mid-stroke. The street was empty, and the fog clung low to the cobblestones, swallowing the far end of the lane. She had heard it before. Always from somewhere beyond the bend in the road, the part of town she was told never to walk after dusk. Anna had worked here for 3 months, long enough to know the rhythm of the place: bread cut at dawn, church bells at noon, the smell of tallow drifting from the chandlers before evening. And then, as night came, silence so deep it pressed against her skin. But in that silence, the hum. The inn's owner, a pale man who kept his eyes on the floor when speaking, never acknowledged it. The other servants would stiffen slightly when it began, working faster, eyes a little wider. Once, Anna asked one of them, a girl no older than 15, what it was. The girl simply shook her head and muttered, "It's not for us." The night after, Anna dreamed she was walking that forbidden street. The cobblestones were slick, the doors shuttered, but the windows were open and filled with faces she did not know. They didn't move. Not even to blink. The morning after the dream, she woke with grit beneath her fingernails and the faint smell of pond water in her hair. She told herself she must have been sleepwalking. But when she asked the stable boy if he had seen her, he only frowned and said, "You weren't here." Her days continued as before. She scrubbed floors, carried water, set plates of mutton and bread before travelers whose eyes darted about like startled birds. They always left before the sun went down. Always. One afternoon, a merchant came through, asking for a map. His own had been damaged by rain. The innkeeper brought out a leather-bound atlas and turned the pages until the merchant shook his head. "No," he said, "this part here. Where your town should be." Anna, who was nearby, saw the page. Between the hills and the river, there was only a pale blank space. No ink, no border, not even a name. The innkeeper smiled without showing his teeth and said it must be a printing error. The merchant did not press the matter, but his face stayed pale for the rest of his stay. A week later, Anna noticed something strange. The main street seemed shorter. The far end of the lane, the one that led to the forbidden bend, was now only 2 houses away from the inn. She could see the corner from the step. She asked the kitchen maid if there had been a fire, or a demolition. The girl gave her a strange look and said, "It's always been that way." That night, she heard the hum again. Louder. Almost a voice now. Against her better judgment, she left her narrow bed and crept outside. The fog was thicker than ever, curling around her ankles, dampening the sound of her bare feet on the stones. The bend was closer than she thought. She turned it. The street beyond was not empty. Lanterns burned behind warped glass, spilling dim gold onto the cobbles. Figures moved in the haze, slowly, as though the air were heavy water. They did not look up as she passed. Their clothes were decades out of date, faded and stained, as if they had been worn for years without change. The hum surrounded her now, though she saw no instrument, no singer. It came from the stones, the air, the walls themselves. She wanted to go back, but when she turned, the street behind her was gone. Only more fog, and more houses that leaned in close as if listening. A door opened ahead, and a man stepped out. His face was wrong, too smooth, too pale, with no lines around the eyes or mouth. He looked at her the way a mirror might. "You've come back," he said. Anna did not answer. He stepped aside, holding the door open. Inside, she could just make out the shape of a long wooden table, its surface covered with maps. Dozens of them. All blank in the center. She ran. Or tried to. The cobblestones seemed to pull at her feet, slowing her to a crawl. The houses blurred, their windows brimming with those unmoving faces from her dream. The hum grew sharper, turning into a kind of ringing that rattled her teeth. When she finally reached the bend again, the street was gone. She was standing at the inn's front step, broom in hand, morning sunlight spilling across the lane. The baker's cart rattled past. The church bell rang. Everything as it should be. Only, the street now ended directly at the inn. There was no bend, no lane beyond. That evening, a traveler came in asking for a map. Anna watched from the corner as the innkeeper turned the leather pages. Between the hills and the river, there was nothing. Just the same pale blank space. Anna keeps sweeping the same front step every morning. She never leaves the street. She no longer asks where the road went. But sometimes, in the quiet moments before dusk, she catches herself humming without meaning to, low, uneven, like a bow across broken strings. And when she does, the faces in the windows seem a little closer.